All right, everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Live. I'm really excited to have Xavier Hawk on this week because are you going to be at Self-Reliance Festival, Xavier?
Heck yeah.
Heck
I'm
yeah, what are you going
stoked.
to talk about?
I'm going to talk about the same thing we always talk about, Pinky, how to take over the world.
All right, how do we, okay, so what are the basic, like, 3 or 4 things we should know about how to take over the world? Let's just start there.
Oh, okay. So if we are going to take back the planet, which I think should be first and foremost on everybody's mind beyond being self-reliant and being capable, those are the foundations, right? We need to be able to take care of our own food, take care of our own security, take care of our own mind state, and produce abundance in our own lives, right? So that we can take care of others. Then once we get to that stage, then we all need to hold hands and Care Bear stare the out of the whole new world order. Right? And the way we do that is by building a civilization that's worth living in. And we need to have the values, the self-reliance, the goodness, the care, all of the true traits of godliness, let's say, and come together and build something that's worth living in, right? Where we can honor one another and people aren't trying to extract value from one another, but we're actually trying to share value and build something, again, worth living in. So the way we're doing that at Firon is PP1 is in an undisclosed location. That's right. Um, what we're trying to do is build the foundations of a society and a civilization incorporating all the fundamental verticals in, everything from security to food propagation to resource management and manufacturing, all the verticals that it takes to run a civilization and scale it, and then be able to provide a governance system to be able to do that. So for the layperson, for everybody that's out there, like, you need to be getting on top of your self-reliance, getting on top of your community building, figuring out what it is you need to live, not what you want, what you need. And then once you have those and you have those channels secured, then you can start building out from there.
Okay, so speaking about the difference between what you want to live and what you need to live, like, drill down on that. How much does a person really need to live in your view?
Well, I'm an odd one to ask, because if you gave me a knife and sent me out into the woods, I'd be pretty content.
100% why I asked you that question. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so one can eke out an existence, right, in that hunter-gatherer mode, but it's harder and harder to do that in the continental United States at this point. There's a dude and his beau, his female companion, who are horseback riding throughout the Northwest. And they have this course that takes them through several states. And for the most part, they don't touch civilization. They have like solar panels and some things that they carry along with them, several horses, but they living a total nomadic lifestyle. I saw this cat on TikTok and it's like, you can do it. But that is an extraordinary amount of effort, an extraordinary amount of will force, right? And I wouldn't say to him it's sacrificing, because he's like, y'all are living in crazy town and I'm living in close to nature and close to the true cycles of Earth, right? And so I don't think the majority of us would go and choose that lifestyle, but homie's doing it and doing it to a great degree and interacting on TikTok and like getting all of this outpouring of support. So, what does he need? What does that couple need? They need a couple horses. They need, housing that they can carry with them. If we go into I wouldn't say grid down scenario, but if we go into a scenario where the United States gets balkanized, it's going to be people eking out an existence, unlike anything we've ever known in the United States since the Great Depression, right? And a lot of these people are not ready for that. They're not mentally, they're not emotionally, they're not resilient, right? And they're the people who all lined up to get the experimental, thing, right? So those of us who out of those of us who didn't, who had the emotional and caricature fortitude to stand up and be like, this doesn't feel right, and we're going to stand by our morals. Out of those, what's the population that will be able to then truly get by in a way that's meaningful and not completely depressing, right? And out of that population, who will then be in a position to be able to create infrastructure for everybody else around them? And will they be able to, or will they be drowned out by, the states to state fighting, or the next promulgated thing? So what do we need to survive? Very little. I would say we need loved ones is one of the most important things, because otherwise, what's the point, right?
So
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
so him TikToking, that's proof, number one, that it can be done,
Yep.
and inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Which is contagious. So that's awesome. And most people can't do that, right? When's the last time you met a child? I mean, in our groups, of course, we know them, but go to a normal public school and there's no Boy Scouts anymore. And if there is Boy Scout, it is not what it used to be, right? Boy Scouts was started to create to teach boys how to be men in order to go into the military. That's really who funded most of the Boy Scouts originally. And it's not existent anymore. So most people could not do that. But number one, stop asking permission. And number two, do good things. And imagine if your wants and needs overlapped, right? Imagine if what you wanted actually was the same thing you needed. It's not a Range Rover. It's not a sports car, right? It's not even a certain vehicle. But the wants and needs, imagine when they became the same thing, how at peace you would be. And I think a lot of the things you said in the opening portion of that, it's all distraction, right? Because you mentioned headspace and all those things that we want and that shit we chase, and we're constantly worried about some people we don't know, and oh, you can't do that, right? Trying to limit somebody we've never met nor will come into contact with. You see it on the prepper groups all the time. I'm going to collect, oh, you can't collect rainwater. You can't have chickens. You can't do this. But imagine if we stopped doing that, the freedom you would have in your head, right? What if all those little piddly bullshit is literally to dumb you down and to keep us in that fight or flight, right? We're constantly in fear. We're constantly worried who's coming for us. What if that downgrades your mental capacity, right? What if, because they don't want you to operate at the highest levels?
Agreed. I think that there is an epidemic of herd mentality, and I think we are biologically predisposed to being a herd, right? I just was on a phone call with a bunch of guys talking about our water credits, and one of the fellows was going on and on about how great Ethereum was, and I'm like, yes, why? Well, because all of the humans are using Ethereum. Like the majority in the crypto space of people that are using cryptocurrency, majority of them are in Ethereum. And so he was going on about how like that's the place to be. And I'm like, maybe, maybe not, because like it's insecure and there's a bunch of reasons why no, but there's the big reason that yes, and that's because everybody else is doing it, right? And so we intrinsically feel like that's the safe thing. And we as preppers, right? We are somehow, some way immune to that to some large degree because we're looking at the rest of civilization going this one way and we're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm going to do this instead. But you have to have character and you have to have inner fortitude to withstand the subtle social pressure for that. And then even but we tribe up and we're like, I trust you, and I trust you, and now we'll make decisions, right? And that's even more, right? But it's because we have the same value. But we immediately go to that tribal thing. It's built in us, right? And to question that, there's got to be something wrong, right? But it's really, that's the growing edge of civilization, where somebody is willing to question those fundamental biological subconscious behaviors, find something different, and then get everybody else to go in that way, right? And so we as a community, I think, are all silently doing that without even recognizing it to some degree. Like we are trying to find a new route. Like we are water going down a river and most of it's going this way. We branched off and we're like, we're going to find a path through these rocks. And in our community of like-minded, rugged individuals who say something's bad is happening down this path, we're going to choose this other one. Like we keep like, horse like leapfrogging, and finding new ways of expressing this fundamental drive in us. And I think that we're all kind of going in the same direction. And even though there are people who are like, but this and that, and it's like we're all still in this together, whatever way you slice it. Like we'll have our communities if everything falls apart, but we have to have that fundamental ability to cross bridges with each other. And recognize, like, that's how city states started, that's how nations started, and we as a global civilization are trying to find that equilibrium as a globe, but there are all these powers wanting to control that, and we're just caught up in this tumult, trying to make sure that we can take our surfboard, duck beneath the wave, and hopefully hold our breath long enough to come out the other side.
Or find an Eddie.
Yep, exactly. Here's my cozy little spot. Leave me alone.
So that was basically your speech for Self-Reliance Festival, right?
In the Self-Reliance, I'm going to actually have tactics and kind of, I'm going to unveil some of the things that we're actually cooking up.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, actionable, something that can be implemented immediately, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been interesting watching how, like, because I first got to know you, X, in Unloose the Goose. Had no idea who you were till Jack's like, hey, put this cat on the website. And then I started watching your stuff and realized I'd heard you on his podcast before. And there's this culture of interconnecting personalities who were all starting to go in the same way, where you see this shit coming. And I kind of promoted this show as how to like navigate the coming collapse, but should we even be calling it a collapse, right?
I think
if we think of it as a collapse, that has a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
If we think of it as a transition, the mindset going into that is, how do I go through that and come out like better on the other side, versus how do I avoid the falling building? Well, part of coming through something and being better on the other side is not getting crushed by the falling building. But if I obsess on the falling building, I never get out from under it. It's a long straight run instead of just 2 steps to the side.
Yeah, it's like the race car driver, you know, how he avoided all the crashes by not looking at the crashes. You look at where you want to go. And I think all of us here are on that path, right? And I think Jack is as well, very much like, what is our end destination? What does that look like? How is it inspiring enough to get me up off my ass and actually do something about it, right? And that's really what I loved about you guys.
I think you have to have the negative. You're never going to build any resilience and strength. There's no superhero that you watch that didn't have some incredibly tragic thing happen. I think it is important to know that it is happening, not for me. Those guys, right. Poor, too bad, so sad, whatever. You can look at what we're doing. You can come be a part of what we're doing, but I'm definitely not going to run a rescue mission to come and bring you here, right?
Right.
I think it's important to know that the world is on fire and all that shit's happening. Otherwise, you don't know as it encroaches on you. I think that you need both.
Yeah, I don't think you should ignore the falling building. I just think if you stare at the falling building as it falls on you, that you've gotten nothing done. And that's where a lot of, so because of Self-Reliance Festival, I've been exposed, before I was exposed mostly to people like, how do I raise chickens? How do I can the food? How do I make money off my land? Those sorts of things. Got more into the Self-Reliance Festival network, and a lot of people come to us newly completely panicked because last night when they went to bed, they saw the world as a pretty stable place where you could raise a family, and if you worked really hard, you'd get a few years of retirement, and then you'd pass something on to your kids. That's what they saw.
Right.
And overnight, they were like, ping, holy crap. That's all not going to happen. I see it. And then they start like digging into it, and they're getting buried and overwhelmed. And then they come out and they're like, how do I do all the things? And it's like, okay, I'm glad you see the fear, but you got to step back from that and do tangible things, one thing at a time, because if you try to do everything at once, you'll do nothing well. Yeah. And even if crisis comes in 3 weeks and you just started today, and 3 weeks from now, the entire financial system collapses and we no longer are able to drive cars for whatever reason, to move things around just by cowboying it.
Well,
if you tried to take 100 steps at once and got not a single step done, you're in a worse place than if you just did 3 things and had 3 out of 7 things under control.
Yes. But I think, to John's point, I think that there is plenty to be scared about. And yes. I think that we are motivated both by, we are pulled by inspiration and pushed by fear, right? So it's like that in between. And I think because of our culture, because of our upbringing and our biology, I think we are far more, most of us at least, are far more pushed by fear, right, than we are inspired. And I think somebody like Elon Musk, he's like trying to get the inspiration thing going, because I think that that's the only way we get to something positive. Because if we are only running away from things or motivated by fear only, it just gets us to a darker place, which I think is why we're here in civilization, in this inflection point in civilization in the first place. But like, all we have to do is look a year ago, what was going on? People were lining up to become part of some experiment so that they could get some kind of normalcy back. And
it's happening again. They're fucking doing it again.
And there's no normal now. There will be no norm. It'll only just get more and more fucked up. And so that's a very real, like, that's kind of scary thing. And if you need something scary to be motivated by, like, there you go. How are you going to withstand what comes then, when you may have not even withstood what happened the first time, right? And maybe if you did, what does that mean in terms of self-reliance? Like I think what John's doing is great. Exit and build. Like, he's giving people, like, buy my course and you can figure out how to do it, you know? And I think that it's important that people get a plan and figure out how to do it. And like you said, even if you suck at it, just go. Because inside you make a decision and then you're like, I'm not going along with this other thing. And I know this other thing leads to, like, essentially hell, right? Now, I might have to go through a little bit of hell, but that's much better than, like, a lot of it, right?
Yeah. And I am typing something, so you need to keep talking.
Oh yeah, no, Scrambling saying F fear, and it's like, yeah. I will make a confession. I have been a terrified person most of my life, and I think that's what set me on this path. Because, notwithstanding, like, the visions or whatever, like, I was just intelligent enough to look around and say, I don't know anything in this big, large scape of things. Like, I know nothing. And there's so much more that I don't know than I do know. And so I was always, like, careful, right? And my fear is what caused me to become resilient, right? Like, my fear of everything said, okay, if I'm afraid of that, then I need to learn about it so that I can conquer it, right? If I'm afraid of this, I want to conquer that. I'm afraid of civilization collapsing because I had visions as a child and it's all fucking coming true. So I'm going to take survival courses. I'm going to go and mitigate, do the things that, if I'm afraid of, mitigate the fear, right? And allow me to respond in some meaningful way. And so and then it was like, okay, like what I opened up with, it's like, get your base covered and then you can expand, you know?
Did you do a Survivor TV show or Alone and Afraid or some shit? Were you on a television show?
I was on a ghost hunting. I was the psychic on a ghost hunting show.
I got a guy I got to put you with then.
All right. Yeah, you can find it. It's out there on Apple TV still. And,
yeah, I know some guys. We went to a Dogman Cryptid conference 2 weekends ago with, like, the Joe Rogan of the paranormal podcast stuff, and there's 450 dudes there, man.
Yeah. There was I allowed this ghost that was there to possess me for, like, a fraction of a second, and because I was trying to clear it, right? It was this fire station in Fort Lauderdale, and in that brief second, he remembered what it was like to breathe, to have breath in his body again. And because for, like, 70 years or whatever since his death, this place had been haunted. So 70 years just wandering up and down a hallway. And he remembered, like, and I started crying and all this stuff. And they're like, what happened? And I was like, this is what his name is. This is what happened. This is what happened when he got here. This is how he died. Da 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 da. And the producer of the show flipped out. He's like, cut. Like, what the just happened? How did, you know? And he's like, who told you all of that? And I'm like, the guy, you know? And he didn't believe in ghosts. And I was like, the guy, he breathes for the first time in 70 years, and he's left. He's not ever coming back here.
No longer haunted.
Yeah, it's no longer haunted. Like, he recognized what's waiting for him, basically. And he's like, no, I don't care about that. How did you know all those details? How did you know his name? Da 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 da. And I was like, he was there. So that was a unique experience. But so that, I don't know how we got off to that topic, but yes, it was a thing that happened. And
every time you talk to X, you get off on a topic like this, and it's something you've never heard before. That's why these are great interviews.
Yeah.
John did it. John did that one.
Well, okay, I got a way to tie it in, right?
Yeah.
So the ghost dancers, back in the day, these cats all decided to go and do, when you know, colonization was happening and the destruction of native life was taking place, you know, in mass. These guys all got together and decided that they were under the leadership of this one individual, that they were going to do what's called a ghost dance, and they would wear these specific shirts that would make them impervious to bullets. It was modernly interpreted incorrectly. They knew that they were going to die, and they knew that they were going to become ghosts, and that was their pact, and that they would stay and work on the lands as spirits to bring about the end of colonization in the United States. That was their spiritual purpose, their spiritual plan. Not many people know that. But at this time, you know, the land is alive in ways that we can't even comprehend. You know, if you go out and speak to your plants in your garden, they will grow better. It has been proven scientifically that if you have a vitamin K deficiency and you're growing tomatoes in your garden, which don't produce vitamin K, they will actually kill themselves in order to produce the vitamin K that you need as the person that's there tending to them. This has been proven scientifically, that if you take a row of crops, the same genetic strand, and you put 10 different people growing them and a robot, right, that each one of those rows of crops of same genetics will actually grow to meet and mineralize you specifically for your deficiencies and or that which your body needs. So they are alive and conscious to a way that we don't yet comprehend as a mass populace. In the same way, spirits literally exist in an amorphous sort of very porous way. Like their atoms might be very farly dispersed that you can't see it, right? And so we have a communicative ability at the very fundamental vibratory level as a creature. You catch a vibe, right? That you can communicate with these things. And in that way, as somebody who is trying to survive, let's say, in the woods, like the guy on the horseback, you can bet that he knows things about that environment that you go ask anybody else and they'll have no clue. But he'll know it because he's interacting with it in a very naturalistic sort of way. And he might not even understand the vibe or this, but like natives, people who lived close to land, were always doing that communication, to the degree that when colonizers came over and they saw, you know, groves full of food, they knew something had to have made that, like a gardening at a permaculture level that we're not even close to yet. You know, that, like, I guess I'm saying all of this because if you put your attention towards nature and towards what you need and not what all of this Babylon system has, you're going to ride through this whole coming transition a lot better.
I mean, it's great that you bring that up, because one of the questions I knew I needed to ask was specifically about that research where the plants pull minerals that you need to fill deficiency. Do you remember who wrote that? Because I've had probably 15 emails in the last week saying, where do I find this research? Because to me, that's fascinating. Like, I felt pretty bad part of this summer. And one day I was just like, I remembered that I'd had this conversation with you. I raised plants at home. I cut out all food that wasn't coming off my property for a few weeks.
Oh, cool.
Under that theory, because I was like, I'm eating whatever. I'm going to eat from here and see if I just start feeling better. And I started feeling better. And then I brought it up on one of these lives a week or two ago, and people wanted to know more about that because that's fascinating research to read.
Yeah, so my business partner told me about it. I'll see if I can find it from him, and I'll send it to you, and then you can post about it. I know that this was research that they did with their specific genetics and crops, and they did it as part of. He was like, at one point he was the UN ambassador for agriculture in the world or whatever. And they did this study where it was not just on that, but also the difference between generalized mineralization of the plant. They would have, let's say 100 square yard garden that was manicured by a robot, one that was manicured by like grown humans, and then one that was manicured by kindergarten sized humans. And they found that out of all three of those, the ones that was tended to by the kindergarten sized humans was like way more mineralized and much more productive than the others. And they didn't have the speculation there was that the kids have much more energy, they're much more enthusiastic, they are engaged with the plants at a level beyond words because they haven't yet developed fully into their, concretized selves. So there's several things. I'll be speaking with him later this afternoon. I'll see if I can get the links for that. If it's
yeah,
on.
that would be really helpful. I'll spread them out. And then Strong Roots Resources said The Secret Life of Plants.
That's a great one.
And The Secrets of the Soil books are really good resources for things like that. That's Kerry Brown for anybody who's met him at the Self-Reliance Festival. But he's always linking me with great books. He and his wife are a good resource to our community for things like that. But I would like to dig more into that because it's been a year. So
yeah,
and it's really interesting to find ways to find balance. It's kind of like we're raising sheep now. And I started reading just, like we're doing the rotational grazing the way you should, which has turned out to be 4 times the work we thought it would be, but whatever. And that's why other farmers don't do that. And we're going to keep doing that. And we're doing that because as they pass through one time, they fertilize the earth, right? And then we're doing some things and they'll pass through multiple times. And what happens to pasture is it starts orienting towards the ruminant that's coming through.
Yeah.
And same thing, bringing minerals up that they need. I had a really good talk with a veterinarian about what minerals are prevalent in our area and what we might want to augment and those sorts of things. So the mineralization of the soil is something that I'm just really fascinated with at this point because, I don't want to lose all my teeth to scurvy or something.
There's been a lot of really great research about ruminants and how well that they develop land. Land that's destroyed, you can re-engineer it with just starting with things like sheep and cows, right? Managed properly. I think I part of me thinks that our community, let's say like our global community of agorists or self-reliance, preppers, whatever that the term is, if it were large enough, there would be industries and or services built up that like, look, you can go buy freeze-dried food out the wazoo now because there are enough people who are buying it, right? But things like you're talking about, like actual services for agriculturalists, people who are doing permaculture at a decentralized level, like it's almost like we need to get more people doing that and spending time, money, and energy on that to have an industry built around that so that people will have more resilience. It's like we're having to subconsciously get people to be more resilient. Part of me is like, yes, we should. The other part of me is like, so long and good riddance to those who aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cruel, but
more space for us.
Unless there are people who plan for that, and they're like, it's almost like there's the evil, emperors and Klaus Schwabs who are preparing for that and orchestrating that, and us who want the opposite of that, and all these people in the middle disappear, and then it'll just be us two groups pitted against each other for all eternity.
Have you noticed the talking heads of the evil, Klaus Schwab and all them? Not a one of them look healthy.
Yeah.
None of those people look healthy.
No, their color's all wrong. They look like they have liver problems.
Lizard? Did you say lizard problems?
Yeah.
They look like they are lizard problems?
Something like that.
Do you guys think industrial farming is a detriment to home farming? Absolutely it is. Yeah. Tyler, running cornfields and large-scale cattle that you do, I'm kind of surprised that you asked the question. If you're running corn in massive scale, you're using anhydrous and you're using Roundup Ready fields and, nothing grows in there. Go try to grow a garden beside it. Shit, go try to grow a garden 15, 20, 30 acres beside it. It won't fucking grow. You know that.
Yeah, it's interesting that comes up because I've been wanting to have a series of meaningful conversations with people on topics that are typically left and right, where we do this, right? And one of those is global warming, and specifically like the difference between the global warming, like turnkey solutions to fix that problem, separate from actually taking care of the environment in the way it needs to be, like bettering the earth, right? Let's sit down and talk. Like the vegans say cows are bad for the environment. They're 100% right. The CAFOs are really hard on the earth and they're really hard on the cows. And it's a terrible way to treat animals. And there are a lot of things wrong with that. However, people raising cattle like John or I would it's the opposite. We start regenerating the earth. We start building more topsoil. We stop having the need to spray as many things because we're fixing the problem with the ruminants. But nobody ever sits down and has that conversation. They just go straight to vegan meat eater head to head, like epic wrap off. Like, I don't even know. It's this whole thing that we need that one.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I mean, we can agree. Can we agree that aluminum is bad for you, right? You probably shouldn't be eating powdered aluminum. You shouldn't, they've shown that drinking from cans causes Alzheimer's, all kinds of shit. They just did some tests on Mount Shasta. I think it's 8,300 foot elevation. They tested the topsoil, and then they tested, several inches into the soil. At that level, the aluminum is 163,000 times. I believe that was the number I heard. 163,000 times greater than what it should have been or what it was the last time they tested that, right? How is that? Where's that? We're putting that shit in the air. I mean, it's not, some of it's coming out of plants and they've closed down all these fossil fuel plants, but I mean, it's part of the weather control shit. We've been doing it since Vietnam. The government has said, yes, we do this. It's fucking there. It's in your face. The research is there.
Yeah.
And they're putting all kinds of chemicals into the air.
Yep.
That's actually the fascinating part about talking to the vet about what minerals are in our soil is she's linking it back to coal plants. She's like, we were burning coal here for the longest time. This mineral that nobody else has, you have, because that was falling out of the air for 50 years, and your sheep aren't going to need it because they're getting it.
Right.
Have you looked into the salad bar mineral feeders? Like, your animals know what they need.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Yeah, so when you give them an option, they don't have to eat the block that has everything in it.
Yeah. No, we have specific blocks. I do have one mix I give them that's a bunch of micronutrients, but it's the sulfur block. They came with a sulfur block and a selenium block. The sulfur block hasn't been touched since they moved there. And that's why. It's because sulfur fell out of the air and they just don't need it.
Got it.
So I didn't stock up on sulfur blocks. I stocked up on selenium blocks.
Got it.
Yeah.
Tyler, keep throwing out talking points, man. I get it.
What is that? Is that an S next to it? Like, where is that quote coming from? Is it coming from? Oh, it's coming from YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one of your members if they have that icon, John? This
gotcha.
S thing?
Yeah, Tyler's he's on my videos every night. Yeah.
Did you know you could become a member of John Willis's YouTube channel by subscribing, and you get access to extra content?
$1 a month.
Tyler figured that out.
We do 2 videos, private videos, and then we have another level. And on Monday or Tuesday, my guy will put up some question. Hey, ask your questions. And then on Friday, when we record Panic Prepper, we will also record an hour-long, 90-minute until we have them all answered in detail. And that's a private video, and the only way you get those is to be a member, and you can do that for $1 a month.
There you go.
Oh, that's cool. I should join.
Yeah, you should.
It tends to get you better notification too.
Yeah. Do you have a marketplace? Like, do people get together and trade goods and buy services?
We don't. I mean, we have some private groups on Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, that's actually something coming up from our network now. Is they want a better way to sell the things they're not using anymore, like fence chargers, or I don't use a big crock for fermenting anymore, right, or any of these things where people are like, hey, but I want to use a crock for fermenting. And Carrie Brown, who's from Strong Roots Resources, he's started hosting like a homesteaders like swap meet once a month. Like, but I think
list.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to get that online or what tools to use, because there are a lot of people who are now looking for things that some of us who've been doing this for a long time may not be using specific ones anymore, and there's no reason to not resell that to each other. So
I will take all your junk. I'll take all your junk.
He wants all my fence chargers.
So I use West Tennessee Farm and Garden, and then there's West Tennessee Farm and Livestock. I'm in 3 or 4 groups because obviously I'm not going to go more than 4 hours or whatever to pick stuff up. But anytime I'm looking for stuff like that, it generally is within 90 minutes of here.
Okay, so I got some questions for you Tennesseans. During the COVID lockdown operation, there were supposedly camps and detention centers or some kind of what is it called? Quarantine camps there, right there in Tennessee.
So Nashville Fairgrounds is where it was said to have been.
Right.
I was there a lot because that's where they have the antique home and garden show and the flea market. I didn't see any people kept against their will. I did see some legend. I saw some verbiage that did look that way. I saw somebody came in and did, oh my God, this is a COVID camp. It's a soccer stadium they're building. I was there 90 days ago, probably. Could it be converted? Absolutely. It looks like the ones in China where they took the big pavilions and stadiums and put the bungalows and shit. Absolutely, it could be. Was it? I don't know.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I know that twice during the pandemic, Tennessee activated help of the Army Corps of Engineers to set up overflow hospital locations that were spun as quarantine centers. One of them, I think, was in the center where the opera is in Nashville, where they went through and like upgraded wiring and all sorts of stuff so it could handle having hospital beds thrown in there. And then when we didn't get the numbers that they were worried about of people needing to go to the hospital, they pulled it back out. I know that happened because I know somebody who worked on it.
I think it's kind of like those hospital ships they brought in and they never used.
Yeah,
right. Because it was a propaganda operation that,
Well, they're all but saying that now. I mean, they've even removed. YouTube has removed. They're no longer killing people's channels for talking about masks not working. I mean, they've removed a ton of shit. Even the World Health Organization, the CDC, all of those groups have completely changed and removed verbiage from their websites.
So what do you think then, in your estimation, was it just a test run to see if people would buy it? Do you think they got enough people to become part of the experiment? Like,
I think it's multiple things. And I think that different parts of it had different things. I think it's a huge wealth grab. It was a huge, by giving people a little bit of money, they got people not to go to work. I think that they did lower the population. I think a lot of that experiment, like right now, everywhere is looking for work, right? So you can no longer stay in your apartment for the last 2 years. Now you have to pay rent, right? You can't squat anymore.
Yeah. So
those people, where are they? They're not walking in the door looking for work. I'm out in Nashville. I'm out in Jackson. I'm out in Memphis. There's not a massive, it still looks like the population is reduced. 50% of the restaurants are out of business. There's no longer signage on that. Where are these people at? My belief is that they have expired. I believe that a lot of them have expired. Well, how come I don't know any of them? Because those aren't my people. I don't have. I would go as far as to say that I don't have a single employee here that took the vaccination. If they did, not aware of it. We didn't really have the conversation, but the conversation was generally, I'm not taking that shit. We are not closing down. You don't have enough guns. Come back with some more guys and some more guns. You're not shutting us down. But my sheriff in my town is of the same belief we are. And all of the people, not all of the people, I mean, we still have people that are not our people. And you see the people still wearing, I'm like, I didn't realize it was Halloween. That's a neat costume you have on. And they're trying to, I read last night in one of the groups that the COVID numbers are back up and we have like a 30-mile yard sale here. And this lady's going on about how COVID's up and I can't believe they're even letting you have the yard sale. Well, what do you care? Aren't you like triple vaccinated? What do you give a shit?
Yeah.
Why are you at the yard sale complaining about the yard sale?
Correct.
Right.
And that's another piece of it, right? We gave people who had no power in life, we gave them the ability to have power. They've put that mask on and they think you don't know who they are. If they're so scared of me being unvaccinated or so scared of me not wearing a mask, why are they up in your face, right? Why aren't they going? Because they're not scared of you. They just feel that they have some power and they're mad that you're willing to do something they're not willing to do.
Interesting. Through this whole thing, like, I have not interacted with a crazy person publicly. Like, nobody's come up to me and been like, where's your mask? And like none of that.
Correct.
I have been, it's almost as if it was the narrative. Like, I think we are just as subject to manipulation as the other side, right? Like, we're all like, oh, look at those people. Like, now it's like, and part of me is like, what is really happening with this, right? And yes, I have a conspiratorial like nature to things just because of the things that I've experienced. Like I suspect there are groups that are, you know, colluding in secret and own different industries and are like, haha, we'll do this thing and your stock prices will go up, and we'll do this thing and your stock prices will go up. Haha. And that it really just comes down to that greed, you know? And then I look at like Dr. Evil and the Schwabs and all of that, and I'm like, they literally have said that they want the world this way, and everything's leading that way, and it looks like it. So, you know, but if I were that diabolical and I was trying to do those things and I had representatives in each industry, like I could see an operation like this go down, right? Like I can look at the COVID op and call it a COVID op because it was clearly an operation with agreed by a lot of people, and a lot of people went along with it because they were legitimately afraid, because the sources where they got information from, they trusted to be telling them the truth, and those had been infiltrated and not been truthful.
I think part of it's cataloging as well, right? Who is most likely not to take the thing, right?
Yeah.
Free-minded, going to protect themselves, people I would consider to be more my people, right? Who's most likely to take the thing? Who was most likely not to go to work? I mean, I don't know anybody that didn't go to work. I don't know anybody that stopped working because of it. Not a single person do I know.
Right.
But we know they're there. And if you want to see absolute crazy out in public, go to Walmart or almost anywhere on a payday weekend, especially on a welfare weekend. When the welfare money comes and deposits, you want to see absolutely insane. It's there. Go to Walmart during business hours, because we don't realize it, right? We run businesses. We have accountability. We have people that rely on us, right? Duck out of your business and go to a Walmart around, you know, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. when most people are at work. You will see there are fucking zombies. We don't realize they walk amongst us. We used to put those people in places. We call them asylums. They're out there. Like it is until you go when you're normally at work and see what's not at work, man, it's a surprise.
That's actually usually when I am there, just because it's easier to get stuff done at that time.
My sister,
I think they took advantage of an opportunity. I think it's been ready to go, and it was seeing how far it could go, and the opportunity came up, and then they paired that with that, you know, underlying political drive to change the White House over. I think that was a big motivator to just keep going.
Yeah.
Right. So who's pulling those puppet strings, right? Because the White House certainly isn't.
No, they are not.
Who is the they? And I don't think it even matters who they is.
I don't either.
I don't think it is. We no longer mind because they no longer matter. And I think that's the biggest part of it, right? They don't care which side you're on as long as you're on one of the sides bickering, right? Republican, Democrat. They care when you're not any of those, right? And they will make an example of you, and they will burn your home down, and they will sue you for millions. They'll come after you for millions of dollars. And it's just about destroying you. I mean, like the Alex Jones thing, right? Alex Jones, $42 million. Because everybody's eyes are on Alex Jones. Everybody's eyes are on these guys. They have to make an example of them so that you will think twice, right? How many times have you typed some shit out on social media and thought, I better not post that in the last 3 years, right? We used to post anything you wanted to say, as crazy as it was. You can't, now you don't. I got a strike yesterday. I got a double strike on Instagram for some shit posted 3 years ago. One of them, it didn't even show me what the post was. It said harassment and bullying. And one of them said firearm sales. And I had a picture, I had a rig, right? No firearms, no guns. It's nylon gear that holds magazines. I have 1 million of those posted photos like that. There's no recourse to them. To open your account, you have to accept it. And there's no recourse. There's no review. There's nothing to it.
Wow. Do you think that, I mean, on TikTok, I see a lot of people that are like, I got flagged for no good reason. And I've seen people, there was this young guy who was doing electricity experiments, and he got kicked off. I think his name is Parkenstein, Dr. Parkenstein. Good kid. I know him. I am like wondering, like, is there any core, like, he's not a political, there's no, you know, and I'm looking across and I'm saying, is there enough market demand for a site that doesn't do that to you? Like,
yeah, when you going to launch it?
Yeah, but I'm even then.
Yeah, we've been waiting.
This year. This year.
He's like, this year, Nicole.
I'll tell you guys offline what has happened.
Yeah, cool.
The thing is like there are sites out there that purport to be that, right? But either their user interface isn't good or whatever, and there's like, okay, Truth Social, but that's very much like a party line Republican conservative site.
Absolutely.
Now.
Yep.
And it's because the Orange Man went there.
Well, they get bought out.
Yeah.
Usually because, again, people are trying to get out of the system. The goal right now is make enough money to get out of the system because the system sucks. And it's like, so they'll make something that everybody wants, and then they'll sell it off to the same people that everybody's trying to get away from. Like, even the food companies do this. You'll see this, like, a company will start up a great product that's really clean and good, and then sell it to Nestle. Within a year, it's shit. But all of those people who are looking to get healthy no longer can because they're following the brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not sticking to their, like, deeper, research. And so it's like we need to have a way and a system to create these good places that is not going to be sold out.
Your buddy's talking about free. That's why they're shutting them down. Free energy, right? Is there evidence that at one time in the world we had free energy? There seems to be a lot of it, right?
Yes.
When you look at free energy, it comes along with mud flood. So that kind of discredits the free energy stuff a little bit for some. But it seems to be there, right? Did Tesla have something that made free energy? Have there been a bunch of these dudes who are running trucks and cars on water who have been killed in the last 3 years in weird circumstances? There's dozens of them.
Yep.
Free energy, that's the thing, right? Is it really that far out there that the oil companies assassinated some people or bought some people out that had the free energy technology? There's a kid on YouTube, it might be the same dude you're talking about, who was making Tesla coils and making all kinds of free energy shit.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
YouTube channel, very interesting.
Is that the kid? He had like a very 1920s, 30s vibe, and he talked with a very high voice.
No, this is a young kid that was doing like crazy shit, lightning and stuff on his mom's driveway.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I think what it is that if you want to get like esoteric about it, I think that we as souls know what we're getting into to come to this cosmic little war zone, right? And we come in and we're like, we're going to forget all this reason why we're here. And then we come in, we get born, and then we're trying to adjust to being in these meat suits, and we forget all of the stuff on the other side. And then by the time we figure it out, it's like, oh no, the conditions have changed. And I think that there's enough of us who are of this new way of thinking, which is really the old way of thinking, that want to avoid the suffering and hell of Babylon, right? It's like, you can use the Rasta terms, like, it is Babylon. It's like, it is a society built on lies, by coercion, by deceit, by manipulation, and you get these quote unquote benefits of ease of living, but really, if you look at your life, John, or your life, Nicole, has so much more meaning than somebody who gets up and goes to a 9-to-5 for just so that they can have enough money to get something that makes them sick, to live in an environment that makes them sick, and they're just suffering hamster wheel, like, and they build a structure of identity based upon that falsehood, and it's so fragile that if that falsehood says you need to now become part of this evil experiment and hand over your souls to us, that they will, because they don't know any other better way.
Well, they will, because the majority of them rely on that system. They have to have that system. That system bought them. That system bribed them. They're there at that liquor, licking the heroin all the time. They get some kind of funding for it, right? And it's said that 50% of the population creates something, has a good or service that we seek out and have an economic exchange with. Mm-hmm. The other 50% produces nothing and only gets paid because we are fine, imprison, or are willing to kill the other half, right?
Right.
DMV, for instance. Do we ever go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and go, man, I get to go? No, you have to go. And if you don't go and you're not registered and you're not up to date, they will put you in jail. And then when you don't pay your fines, they will actually imprison you and put you in jail for years over some shit with no victim. Those people only have a job because they fine you and they will imprison you out of fear you pay their fees. That's just bureaucracy. It's any government entity. Is there a single government entity that we do business with that we are pleased to do business with? No, you always have to pay them and bribe them to not put you in jail.
Yeah, it's like those 80,000 IRS agents.
With
the
87.
It's a perfect example. They just hired. They are hiring more IRS agents than the entirety of the Canadian government, the Canadian military. They're hiring more IRS agents than the Pentagon employs, Border Patrol employs, and FBI all combined. They just are hiring more. 87,000 is more than comprises those three entities.
The FBI? Come on.
Yes, that's what they said. Yep, FBI.
Back to what Xavier was talking about a little bit earlier, which is, we kind of frame ourselves as these people who question things and go our own way, but are we really? Every time I see in our community sort of a Karen action of, this thing, no, that person can't say no to you. They have to do it because it's illegal without the following argument of why it's ethical or not. I'm like, that is in our community too. And to some extent, it is, I think, human nature to jump to that, I'm going to cite an authority thing every time, so I don't have to take responsibility for deciding if it's moral or not moral. And so the exercise we can do to be better at not falling into that trap is to keep asking ourselves, is this thing we're about to say an ethical argument? Or are we defaulting to, this is what the law says? Because many laws are unethical and abusive to people, and we should not be supporting them.
I see it in our communities, and I like to think, and I don't know for sure, but I like to think that those are people who have escaped the city and are dipping their toes into homesteading. Yeah. So they're in these homesteading groups and these communities, and they're so used to being told what they can't do, when if they just did it, nobody knew they did it anyways. I like the water collection thing. How the fuck are they going to know that you took some water from your downspout and on the back piped it into an IBC tote inside your building? Who's going to fucking know? But they're so busy, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't, oh my God, you got to keep rabbits on this wire, you can't do. They're so busy telling motherfuckers what they can't do, they can't possibly have time to fucking do anything.
Yeah, and everything is illegal, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
That's the other thing, is everything is illegal.
Yes,
somewhere. So you just have to decide what's right for you.
I didn't read all of it, but in the Telegram group, they're talking about Airbnbs.
Oh, I saw you that was my fault.
And somebody's like, it has to be handicapped accessible. Okay, maybe somewhere, but I know for a fact I've stayed in 3 fucking Airbnbs that in no way were handicapped. They have Airbnbs. They have them in fucking fire towers, right? And tree houses.
Yeah.
So why are we even having the fucking conversation?
It was because I changed Airbnbs.
I know you did.
Because of a service animal, and the person actually was willing to go to some extent to allow it, but when I heard they had a bad allergy as the owner who goes to their own place, I was like, I'm just going to go over here where you don't have to go to all this extra deep cleaning, and it's not a problem for me to change places, so I changed places.
Right.
And that's what that was. That person was saying, well, you can show them this document and then they have to do it.
Oh God!
Like, well, I don't want them to have to do it. I want to have a good relationship with this person, and next time I don't have an animal with me, I'll probably stay there again.
You know how you rate? You know how you rate Airbnb? How there's a rating, right? You leave your review.
Yeah.
Can they leave a review on the client? Imagine if the client had to carry a bunch of fucking bad reviews with them.
No, they do. They review you back.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
The 2 things came up for me when you were talking, Nicole, and frankly, you too, John. Earlier, we need a vision of what we want as a civilization, right? Otherwise, you're going to get those, like you were saying, John, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, or people stepping in and being like, well, you can't get the rainwater because if we just had a vision of what we want, right? The United States was founded on, we don't want tyranny. So we're making this whole document and this whole thing that's going to last what we don't want, right? But nowhere that I have seen scouring the internet and the human history, is there a place where it says, here's a clear vision of what we want our lives and the world to look like? It's like survival mode turned into, abundance mode. But still, like, we need to be building. Like, Elon, again, is just the guy saying, we need to go to space. Here's a vision of what we want. Nothing about how we're going to do it, what it's going to look like. Like, let everybody figure out how to govern. Like, but we need a vision. And once that vision's in place, it's like a bunch of artists get together and miraculous things happen. Like, they just figure out the vision of what they're building is more important than their own little squabbles or feelings, right? And the idea of telling one another we can or can't do something is only because they're not focused on building something, right? If you're focused on building something, all of this other stuff kind of goes away. But when you're focused on building something by yourself, it's going to be uniquely yours and other people can encroach. But when you cooperate, if we can come up with a good way to do that, then we can build something together that's fantastic. The other thing was like, that takes kindness. Like, I don't want to force. Look, if somebody came to me and said that they were a they, them, or a he, she, or whatever, and they weren't doing it out of a manipulative, like, I'm trying to get you to be PC or whatever, but genuinely felt dysphoria or whatever, and they felt that, like, I would, like, out of respect, out of kindness, out of like, I want to love you as a human being, and I want to be a demonstration of God's love in action, right? Because we're kind, like, ideally, we want to build a society that has that as the foundation, that kindness. But that kindness has been weaponized. And when you have to force somebody to be, well, you need to allow my service, but you're making them it's like you're doing the same thing government does at that point. You will do it or I will hurt you. And that's not voluntary. That's not kind. That's not good. And you can't build the society I want to live in with that kind of shit.
Well, and that's why I love how the community that's in the chat of this live stream and that we get together, like, the best feedback I ever got on how our community works, and I think it was probably Billy Bond who was explaining it on his show. I heard it, and he was like, you come to this, we're all motivated by similar things, and it doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're a dude dressed like a girl, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is that we come together and share insights and skills and learn how to do new things. And if somebody's like, hey, I want to learn how to take care of myself, there's somebody there who's a little further along the journey who can say, I'll show you how to do that. I mean, I've been mentored by a bunch of people in the community. I've mentored people in the community. It's like we set up a mutual mentoring scenario and everybody grows. And that is why I like that. That doesn't mean that, I'm ignoring the negative. It's just that to me is a better solution than running around with my pants on fire.
But we say that every time we talk about Self-Reliance Festival. Nicole, yeah. You say that, Billy says that, I said that. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm a little more tough love. I mean, I'm okay with two out of 1,000 not making it out alive. Like, you better toughen up. This is
right.
I'm not you guys have chairs to sit here because Nicole is soft and kind and gentle, because there wouldn't
bring your own chair, guys. Bring your own chair.
Like, if you can't stand, you got some bigger problems.
Yeah, I bring 20 chairs to Self-Reliance Festival, and there were more than 500 people there last time. So the other chairs showed up with the people.
Yeah.
Bring your own chair.
Yeah.
BYOC. So what are some things, so that the audience knows, what are some of the things they can expect to experience at the Self-Reliance Festival this October?
The thing is, every time we do this event, there's more.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we have a sawmill coming.
What?
Have you ever watched that go down? Yeah. So
yeah,
like, making your own lumber is really cool. And I haven't gotten 100% confirmation on that, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen because he wanted to come last time, and I know it'll be an awesome demo. Joel Riles, do you know who he is from Fortress K9?
Yeah.
He trains defense dogs, and he's bringing them out and doing a much longer demo of what his animals can do. So you can just, like, he'll start out telling us about it a little bit, and then he's going to do, I think, a 2 or 3 hour demo with his whole crew.
That's awesome. I was going to get a Malinois from him. It's just not been the right time yet.
Yeah, he's doing multiple demos. His dogs will climb ladders, cross tight ropes.
That's cool.
I mean, just to see, I mean, we know the capabilities, but to actually see the capabilities of those animals.
So you obviously have dorm rooms for everybody, right? And like free showers and
for you maybe.
And so early October gets sort of chilly up in the mountains there. What is
It'll be nice. It'll be nice.
It'll be perfect. It's perfect for camping.
Yeah, exactly. And so you wake up like 7, 8 a.m. and then there's like food, or you make your own food. Like, just run me through a day.
Yeah, so typical day. So the day before Self-Reliance Festival is an add-on workshop about plant guilds and trees, where we're going to plant out John's swales with Billy Bond. And that one, people come, we'll have a little coffee or something, we'll do the class, lunch is served, and then, free afternoon. What's going on during that time also is all the setup for Self-Reliance Festival. So vendors set up, all of these things, parking will be set up, and there's tent camping on site for that. And I've had a lot of questions about camper, like, can I have my camper there? The answer is no, but there are other places your camper can be that are not very far away. Some of them are paid campgrounds. John has said we can put them in the parking lot of his other location. And there's another spot nearby that's hard to describe, but if you come with a camper, we can totally show it to you where it's a little more secluded. But the fact of the matter is, in order to fit 1,000 people on this SOE compound, campers take up too much room.
Right.
And it's just not going to work. And really, there's nowhere to put them, especially with the swales in now. You would have to like drive over a swale like this with your camper. It's not going to work.
And so we've got a place, literally, it's less. I mean, if you're in the worst shape possible, it's a 5-minute walk at most.
Yeah.
We have a place we can put a lot of vehicles.
Yeah. And
is it like Jack's workshop too, where it's like there's like a group meal at lunch or group
no?
Meal?
So that is the difference. That's why the ticket price is very different than Jack's or my workshops. Is no food or beverages is included, but there are vendors on site. Nice. Except we did create a VIP ticket this time. So we have 20 total tickets for VIPs. It's $450. And you get a VIP dinner that will be Saturday night. The speakers are invited to that. And then the 20 people, plus you get a parking place on the SOE compound and a t-shirt, which is not this t-shirt, but we have an SRF t-shirt in production. Awesome. You'll get access to the digital recordings as part of that. So that's like a package deal. But typical day is we get up, we kick off, we have speakers on one stage, we have speakers on another stage, and we have demonstrations going on all over the place, plus vendors in tents, vendors inside the sewing factory. You can shop all day long at SOE and spend all your money on the best made tactical gear in the entire world. It's all right there. And I think what's great about this event is there are pop-up meetings. So like the Tennessee people who are in Freedom Cells will probably have like a Saturday night meetup just to say, hey, introduce yourself, say where you're from, see if we can connect more communities together. We had a flea market last time that somebody ran where you paid $10 and you could just put your stuff to trade out in the campground.
Yeah. Barter tent or barter table?
I don't know. Flea market person, if you're hearing this right now, you should reach out to me because I will put you in charge now, and then we can tell people. Carrie Brown, Strong Roots Resources, and Dawn, who's on here as well, Autumn Dawn, are putting together a community connection effort this time. So they're going to be coordinating people, sharing information, and connecting people who want this with people who are looking for that as part of the whole festival, because we've been coming together enough now that people are like, okay, now how do we stay in touch?
What about
how do we stay in touch?
What about musical acts?
Oh, yes. There shall be music. You know I'm singing, right? I'm totally singing. Yeah.
Me too.
I'll be singing some sauce songs. I'll probably do some covers, and then Testimona is going to play as well. And I don't know. I don't think you met Annie and Toby, but they're going to do a set. And I'm really excited to see that creative layer coming on. Yeah. Because those creative connections, I think we underestimate the mental impact of not allowing ourselves to tap into our creative, and music may not be your thing. It may be art. It may be, building something. It may be poetry. It could be anything, right? Like building a campfire with one match to me is a very creative endeavor once you've understood how all of that works. But when we ignore that part of our nature, I think it hurts us mentally, and it keeps us from having unusual solutions to problems that are sometimes the right. It's like, oh, I have that creative answer I hadn't thought of, and it's because I took a minute to write this song for me. That would be me. Or, it's just like I never wrote a blog post that didn't get written in my head for 3 hours while I was doing something in the garden with my hands.
Completely.
I don't just sit down at the computer and do this. It's like, so I'm excited to see that creative layer come on this time.
So for all of those people who have never been to any of these in-group meetings or in-person meetings, like really, really consider going, because the lifetime relationships are incredible, and the bonds and the friendships that are built, and it you can't beat. Like, it's fun to listen to the show and or to listen to the podcast, whatever it is, but to be in person, it's just a whole nother level of awesome.
We're
doing an Unloose the Goose reunion panel, by the way, and you're on it.
Oh, cool. That sounds great.
We got like 5 geese there. Yeah.
Is Van Tesla coming out?
I don't know. I had not heard from them. So the answer is no at this time. But if they want to, I will make room.
I got to go pick up my daughter.
Yeah.
Say that again.
It's like the internet cut up. He needs to pick up his daughter.
I do. I need to go pick up my daughter.
Well, what do you want to leave us with before you head out? And then I'm going to answer this question here.
Well, I am I'm really, really excited to be there for the Self-Reliance Festival. I think it's going to be a kick-ass time, and I will have some serious announcements at that point, which will be very exciting. Yes, it's been a long time coming, and I just want to thank everybody for just being part of this community and sticking to your guns and being courageous and making sure that you are figuring out ways to take ownership of your life and your happiness and your self-reliance. So I'm excited to be there in person, and thanks for having me again. I've been missing the goose,
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like the goose, only it's not the goose.
Yeah. I dig it.
Cool. Have a good one. And Scramblin', yes, you can sleep in the parking lot in your car. We don't have rules about if you can sleep in your car or not. So if that's your plan, go for it. A couple people, like some people I think came with camper vans last time and just slept in those in the paid parking lot, which is right out front of the driveway. So yeah. Anyway.
All right. Love you guys.
Should we wrap up, or do we want to keep going, John? What do you think?
I got a few minutes. We can go.
Okay.
So we'll see you later, X, and we'll catch up. Yeah. Okay. So what new and exciting things are happening at SOE?
Well, it's on my mind. A lot of people, you guys ask all the time, like, how do I meet like-minded people? I get asked that all the time. Or how do I get my wife on board, right? When you come to you got to go where they're at, right? So what does that look like to you? And we have people that literally come here from California. We have people come here from Australia, Canada. So I always hear from guys like, 400 miles is too far. No, what you mean is it's not important enough to you, because people come from New York and Canada, the extremes of the United States, to come to Tennessee and meet each other. And they meet people that literally live 15 minutes away from them that they never would have met had they not been someplace where there's like-minded people. We've got several people who have met each other and been married from the first and second Self-Reliance Festival now that met here. So if you want to meet people of like-minded, you got to go where they are. It doesn't have to be here, but it has to be somewhere.
Yeah, and Go ahead.
Go.
There you go. Okay. And there are other events that happen all over the place that you should go to, right? John's Exit and Build Land Summit was totally worth going to. I've been to 2 of them now, and I've met fantastic people there. Some of those people have then come up to this event, and that's where I think for a long time I wasn't wanting to leave my homestead, so I didn't travel to these events, and that was harmful to the community. Just not getting out and meeting people is problematic, and especially if you're looking for close relationships. I don't trust anybody till I meet them in person. Personally, that maybe I'm old-fashioned, but that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's really helpful for me to kind of read your body language and get to know you, and you get to know me, and we decide.
Well, we find that there's a lot of perception on the internet, right? You watch these YouTube channels, and when you go to their location, it's not at all what they have molded it to look like through that little lens, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily that they're lying, They just didn't show you the 90% of the fucking wreck that's around them, right? So I think it is important to meet people. Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I don't think Billy Bond recommends any homestead channels until he has seen their place.
Yeah, and there's a lot of big ones that he does not because he has seen their place.
Right. And that's important. I got to see his place, and he is definitely doing what he says he's doing.
Yeah.
On a very steep hill.
Maybe not for long.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find him land?
No, but I mean they keep looking, they keep talking about it.
They keep window shopping in your area. It's kind of funny.
Yep.
But yeah, awesome.
So we got 4 sheep coming from Dr. Barry.
Oh, cool.
3 ewes and a little ram. The ewes might be pregnant. I don't care either way. We're moving chickens every day, moving rabbits every day. A lot of grass is growing. I've got a dude pulling weeds full time every day for the last week and a half. Everything looks completely different. All that stuff's been pulled. All those weeds went to bare dirt. Maybe they'll put some seeds down. They're going to the chickens and they're chewing through that stuff. I don't know. I've got a bunch of projects. I'm not thinking what they are. Just bought a bunch of 1x6 tongue and groove pine that we've primered, and I've tricorn blacked them, put flat black paint on them. We're building out the recording podcast studio. So hopefully tomorrow, I got to put one more coat of paint on these things, and we'll start putting the wall up tomorrow. So we'll have at least 14 feet of wall to film against that we can control better than just, what's raw in there right now.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Okay, let's talk about the shower. You want to talk about the shower?
Sure.
Are you up for people coming there still and building a shower?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this out, guys. I need 5 people who have enough skills to be able to run drills and hammers and frame an 8-foot wide by 6-foot deep building that we will have a divider down the middle of. Think like you're building a deck. Under the deck, there will be something set up for the drain that I will explain to the 5 people who reach out. And that is for the outdoor shower. And we are going to want to roof it as well. I need 5 people I can trust to work hard and get it done, because we could knock this out in a day if we do it. And the day I've been thinking about is September 3rd weekend, either the Saturday or Sunday, that we just come out there, knock it out. And then what that will give us for the campers at Self-Reliance Festival are outdoor showers, because we can hook up the on-demand propane outdoor showers at that point to a hose that's right there. And right now I have 2 people, so 3 or 4 more would be really awesome. If you are interested in helping with the shower build the first weekend of September, let me know. Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com, or go to my website and click on contact, and that'll come to me. And of course, if you go to selfreliancefestival.com and hit contact, that also goes to me. But just get in touch with me. Rather than making this an open free-for-all GSD thing, I think it's important that we get 5 or 6 people who can just hold the lumber, screw the things in, and get it banged out as fast as possible. And that will make the whole thing way better, just to have showers. And I know somebody else, just so everybody knows, is building a hand washing station to hook into a different hose so when you use the porta potties, you have running water to wash your hands. So Ryan's doing that one already. So John, I'll keep in contact with you on schedule for that. I wanted to make sure that weekend was still okay. If it doesn't work that weekend, we'd like to do it the weekend of the 10th, but I prefer 1 week earlier, because if it takes longer than everybody thinks, then we have an extra weekend. And we really need to dig a trench from it to your swale for the drainage.
That's easy. That's the least of it. It won't take an hour to dig that.
Yeah. And I think we're thinking 4-inch PVC pipe goes out there, and then that'll be cool, because your swale will be dealing with the gray water at that point. So kind of another function to stack for you there. Okay, and then Dawn says, don't forget the Keto Carnivore Challenge. How is everybody doing on there? Anybody in this live feed doing the Keto Challenge that we started 3 weeks ago with Toolman Tim? He just texted me. He's lost 17 pounds since then.
Who did?
Toolman Tim.
Awesome.
He texts. So here's what he did. So I'm on vacation this week, something I haven't done in about 8 years. And he texted me yesterday. I got the following text. Well, it said, "Hey, Nicole, how's your vacation going? How's the keto challenge going?" So here's what Tim's doing. He's making sure I do my best to stay keto on my vacation. And I was literally sitting down to a platter of raw oysters. And I'm like, it's not that hard here. It's just seafood, right? So, but he told me he lost 17 pounds. We've got Autumn Dawn is doing it. And Mr. Ike is doing it. That's great. Are you guys making any progress? That's what I want to know. I haven't weighed this week because my scale is back at my house, so I'll weigh when I get back. But I was down 7 the last time I checked, and that's not bad. So for those of you hearing this for the first time, you can still join. The keto challenge is simply go strict keto between now and Self-Reliance Festival. On the day you decide to start, measure your weight, and right before Self-Reliance Festival, measure it again and let us know how much you lost. You don't have to tell us how much you weigh if you don't want to, but let us know. We'll have a whole little sharing there. And part of why we were motivated to do this is you cannot survive crisis of an extremely physically demanding nature if you aren't fit enough to walk, or if you can't go around the corner, or you can't lift something up. And when we become portly, it gets harder to do that thing. You have more of your body to move, so it's harder to go as far. It's harder to lift things up because you're lifting up your body with it, and that's pretty interesting. Oh, Joe, check this out. 2 weeks off, 2 inches off the waistline in 2 weeks. That's why we bring Dr. Barry out to the Self-Reliance Festival every time. This time he's going to do something a little bit more intensive, more workshop style. So I'm super excited. Yeah, and Amanda says, take measurements and pictures. The scale may not move, but your body will change. That's true too. I stuck at the same weight and went down 2 jean sizes at one point last year. So that was not a sad time. And yeah, no idea how much weight, but clothes are a little looser. Isn't that a good feeling? So, and SHTF Fitness will be speaking, so he can tell you the next layer of building strength and enduring into your later years. My favorite quote by my CrossFit coach was always, "I can't add years to your life, but I can add life to your years." Mm-hmm. Think about that. Every problem we have when we're young that's physical in nature, that's in our control, amplifies when we get older. And so to the extent that we stay more fit, we're gonna end up in a better place, or as good a place we can be as we go into later years. So awesome to see that there are people on here excited about the keto challenge. I'm sticking to it. It's hard, but I'm drinking my fizzy water here. Anything else you want to cover, John?
No.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're going to keep this live stream kind of short today, and we'll be back next week with Bear Independent.
Awesome.
So we'll see you then.
Right on.